What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the quartering, and ooh boy, Last of Us 2 fanboys gonna be mad today. Now, yesterday I reported on The Last of Us 2's Japanese sale record getting smashed by Ghost of Tsushima. Well, now today, PlayStation has come out and said Ghost of Tsushima is now the #1 fastest selling first party game, original IP debut, with more than 2.4 million copies sold globally in just its first 3 days. And remember, this is a game that they literally ran out of copies in Japan. Now, I don't know culturally if people will wait to buy the box version there or not. I know that I would prefer to have the box version, even if I know that it doesn't really matter because it's downloading most of the game anyway. But I can say it's safe to assume that the game would have sold even better. Now, before I get into all the salt, huge shout out to this video's sponsor. This video's sponsor is Display. They're high quality prints on metal. They come in matte finish like this, gloss finish like some of the ones you see behind me. I've been swapping them in, swapping them out on my set. Hope you're enjoying that. They mount on the wall super easy using magnets, which allow you to move them around or create collages or getting separate small ones to create a large mural. Display.com is offering just my subscribers for the next few days. You can save up to 32% off. This is the biggest discount they've ever given me. If you order 1 to 3 displays, you're getting 27% off, which is already the biggest discount I've had. Then if you get more than 4, you get 32% off. They have everything on their website: Star Wars, Marvel, Overwatch, DC, The Witcher, Cyberpunk, sports, art, animals, whatever you could think of. They've got a high quality print for you, and they've been supporting this channel for a long time. So with everybody locked in right now and their walls looking really boring, head on over to Display using my link in the link description below, and you can save huge while supporting the channel. Now, there's a link in my pinned comment. You've got to use that to get the discount, and the sale only goes through the weekend. So make sure you pick up some awesome art, maybe some new Ghost of Tsushima displays, or perhaps a The Last of Us 2 display. I don't really care. Just get some sweet stuff up on your walls. Now, Sony put out this tweet early this morning, 7 a.m., saying Ghost of Tsushima is the PS4's fastest selling first party original IP debut, with more than 2.4 million copies sold through globally in its first 3 days. Congratulations, Sucker Punch Productions, and thank you, fans around the world, for taking part in Jin's journey. Now, of course, PlayStation gets the last laugh, because the battle between The Last of Us 2 or Ghost of Tsushima, no matter who loses, PlayStation wins. But if we just look at some of the memes in here, you see Game of the Year, 999, a bunch of 9s and 10s. I don't know if it's Game of the Year yet. It's only July. And again, I haven't had any time. I hopefully can finish it this weekend. I don't do video game reviews on this channel. I don't think my opinion is an expert's opinion. I'm just one dude. But I've said before, and I've said again, the game is between an 8 and a 9 for me, which is excellent. And then you see, let's see, here's some salt. No, you can't actually have a fun game. You have to have 10 hours of cutscenes and depressing things every 10 minutes. Samurai sword go slice, burr. And then you see the salt here. People calling it Game of the Year when The Last of Us Part 2 exists. Well, here's something interesting. Very well deserved. Ghost of Tsushima came at the right time for me, like fresh air, and despite hundreds of trolls like these below, the game keeps destroying some of the other outliers. And you can see here, again, I pointed this stuff out before in my videos where, yes, they only reviewed 2 games. They gave Ghost of Tsushima a 0, and they gave The Last of Us Part 2 a 10 out of 10. Now, obviously, both scores are inaccurate, but it's pretty clear what their hope is here. Now, you can see Welcome to the Club. You see The Last of Us Part 2, 4 million copies sold. Wait, what? That can't be right. None of these are new original IPs. They're also sequels. Yeah, these are all sequels. Interestingly, now, of course, it's the wording, of course, is, it's a great way to hype it up. You can see all these just amazing, magnificent pictures. I mean, I almost wish that this game had come out in wintertime, because here in Wisconsin, it's like 4 straight months of snow. It would have been really nice to see, these beautiful landscapes in the wintertime. Maybe it's worth replaying. I can't say yet. I think it's too early to say if it has any replay value. I can see certainly for The Last of Us 2, it doesn't have any replay value. But that's kind of what you get with these really heavy story-driven games. It's not necessarily The Last of Us Part 2's fault. But you can see all sorts of just love. And again, keeps posting this. Congratulations for the new IP record breaking. That's exciting. I don't know. And full discourse is okay to go both ways, folks. But if I'm being 1,000% honest and true to myself here, The Last of Us 2, B-, Ghosts of Tsushima, A-. There are no wrong answers when it comes to personal taste and enjoyment. TED Talk completed. I agree with that too. I mean, look, obviously I know a lot of my viewers really, really love The Last of Us 2, and you shouldn't feel bad about that. It isn't about one necessarily beating the other, but The Last of Us 2 did sell 4 million. That said, The Last of Us 2 was a sequel, not an original IP, and I think that's obviously extraordinarily important as a qualifier. You can see here, GameIndustry.biz, Ghost of Tsushima sells 2.4 million copies in 3 days. The samurai action game from Sucker Punch is now the fastest selling new IP from Sony this generation. Sony didn't indicate what game Ghost of Tsushima toppled for that title, but 2017's Horizon Zero Dawn is a likely candidate, having sold 2.6 million copies in its first few weeks of sale. While it's topped the list of original IPs, Ghost of Tsushima still fell far short of the sales of some PS4 exclusives based on established franchises. God of War sold 3.1 million copies in the first 3 days, Spider-Man 3.3, Final Fantasy VII Remake 3.5, and The Last of Us Part 2 4 million, all posted progressively higher 3-day sales totals. Yeah, but Ghost of Tsushima is a brand new game. I mean, if you want to get real, 4 million copies for The Last of Us Part 2 is kind of pathetic. For a game that sold, 15 million copies? Why didn't you convert any of those people? You sold 15 million copies of the original game, and your new uptake, by the way, with a massive marketing budget was quote-unquote only 4 million. Now, 4 million is awesome. You can't really take it away. But, I mean, if we're really going to compare, we're going to compare it to Final Fantasy. By the way, a game with nearly 20 original IPs, or original games, maybe more than 20. A game that's been around since Nintendo. Is that what we're going to compare it to? I don't think it's reasonable to compare Ghost of Tsushima, a brand new original IP, to the juggernaut that is Final Fantasy VII, or Final Fantasy, and then on top of that, Final Fantasy VII. Obviously, Spider-Man is a reasonable, I would say Spider-Man reasonable, 3.3 million. God of War, 3.1. Both not original IPs either at the time, but probably more fair to compare them to. But you get salt. All this salt. Ghost of Tsushima is just another Red Dead Redemption. And that's okay. Despite the aesthetic differences between cowboys and samurai, Ghost of Tsushima has plenty in common with Red Dead Redemption in terms of design. In the world of film, many have drawn parallels between the genres of the Old West movies and Japanese samurai films. Many, I mean, it's just a fact. It's so much a fact that Comic Book Resources, or CBR, got absolutely destroyed in this tweet where they attempted to take a slight at Ghost of Tsushima. Now, I don't want to be like promoting the insanity level fandom like Kojima has. Death Stranding, while it might be an amazing game, never appealed to me. And I wasn't going to just buy it because Kojima's done other good things. I don't want to see the Ghost of Tsushima fandom go down this road, but the demolishing continues. 850 retweets, 834 likes. When you have more retweets than likes, that's not a good sign. And you say, Ghost of Tsushima's plot's incredible. But basically, it's the Lone Ranger. What? Lone Ranger came out in the 30s. Samurai movies didn't start influencing Westerns until the 60s. The writer is a Korean-American super nerd. This thread is super cringe. Because you have here saying, maybe I should check out the article. Just could be a bad headline. Who knows? They might have a point. Oh, it's worse than I thought. Obviously, it's not a clear-cut comparison. Historically, the Lone Ranger refuses to employ lethal force, while Ghost of Tsushima cuts through his enemies by the baker's dozen. But the idea of a vigilante rising to defend and inspire the people against a foe actively oppressing them has a clear parallels with the cowboy hero. I mean, nobody bring up Zorro. Oh yeah, here, nobody bring up Zorro. Or the Scarlet Pimpernel, or Robin Hood. I mean, there's just so many hilarious replies. You do know that 99% of Westerns were inspired by Japanese cinema, right? I mean, it's 47 Ronin is pretty good, but it's basically Ocean's 11. That's getting destroyed in the replies. I'm happy that people are liking the game. Ultimately, that's all that really matters. You can see here, Paul Tassi, Ghost of Tsushima shatters PS4 new IP sales record with 2.4 million units in 3 days. I'm not sure anyone, even Sony or Sucker Punch, expected Ghost of Tsushima to be quite a hit at this scale, but we are just a short while after the release. Sony has released the numbers, and Ghost of Tsushima has sold 2.4 million units in 3 days, a record for a new IP in the PS4 era. That bests games like Horizon Zero Dawn, which sold 2.6 million after 2 weeks. I did wonder if Sony was considering Insomniac's Spider-Man a, quote, new IP here because it was the studio's first run at the superhero, but apparently that doesn't count because Spider-Man sold 3.3 million copies in 3 days, and Spider-Man also excellent video game, which at the time was a record, beating out God of War's 3.1 million in 3 days. But the 3-day record holder, that would be the recent release of The Last of Us Part 2. So Ghost numbers are good, but there are a number of exciting IPs ahead of it that weren't too many high-profile first-party IPs that debuted this generation of PS4, so this is a bit of marketing spin. Of course, Paul Tassi. Of course it is. Still true, though. What does it all mean? Well, I wouldn't be amazed if this didn't indicate that Sucker Punch will get a Ghost of Tsushima 2 greenlit. Even if we were to move from our current Ghost and move on from the Tsushima, the game is a hit by every metric. It seems likely that Sucker Punch will keep running with it rather than make another infamous game for PS5. And man, I can only imagine how gorgeous a Ghost sequel would look, specifically made for the PS5 from the ground up. It's somewhat rare to see big wins this late in the lifespan for a console when things are winding down, but Sony has had The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima this summer alone, which has been pretty wild. We'll see how the momentum carries into fall with their production slows down a bit and have to lean hard on spin-offs like Miles Morales for the launch of PS5, but yeah, it's been quite a 2020 for PlayStation so far. Well, also, you saw a lot of good news coming out of Xbox yesterday, like the Game Pass, which is an incredible offer. So I think gamers are going to have a good win this fall. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.